Hey everyone, Dave here, and today we're cooking the world's best pigs in a blanket. Why? Don't ask me, I don't know. I just really wanted some pigs in a blanket, and I figured, hey, let's make a video about this, because when I Googled it, the result was really weird. So on this channel, what we do is we Google the world's best recipes, and then we cook the #1 result that Google gives us. And it's a doozy today. When I search world's best pigs in a blanket, I get something from Chelsea's Messy Apron, and this is way in depth compared to what I'm used to. Generally with pigs in a blanket, I just throw them on a crescent roll, like in this picture here, right there, and just call it a day. But this has got quite a few additions that I'm excited to try. As far as ingredients, this one really kind of hit the wallet though, because these are not ingredients I carry in my house often. White sesame seeds, poppy seeds, I don't know, they're like all types of like gray and stuff. And then black sesame seeds as well. It's like we're making our own everything bagel. Minced onion and minced garlic. Now this one was weird, the minced garlic, because they wanted to give me, let me show you what they gave me instead, because I ordered these ingredients on Walmart.com. Not sponsored, but this was their replacement when I asked for minced garlic. They sent me freeze-dried garlic, which I don't even really know what the point of this is, but I don't know, it's interesting. It says to mix into mashed potatoes for a bold taste. Oh, it says 1 teaspoon of freeze-dried equals 1 teaspoon of fresh garlic. Anyways, I'm not using this. Crescent rolls, of course. You need the crescent rolls if you're gonna make these. An egg. Yeah, last time I juggled eggs. We're not doing that today. Ooh, that almost broke just there. Obviously, the little mini Franks. It calls for 100% beef, which is what I've got. It calls for mustard. I mean, okay. And it calls for flaky sea salt, which I could not find anywhere, so I bought coarse sea salt. I don't really think it's gonna be a good replacement, but hopefully it is. I'll have to look. And I honestly think this recipe is gonna be pretty easy, guys. I don't think it's gonna be super complicated. This is something probably anyone can cook, and it's just a fun recipe. All right, so I just grabbed a bunch of random measuring spoons. Hopefully I've got the sizes I need here. But it says to start off by combining all the spices together, which means, oh really, a tablespoon. Okay, yeah, I've got a tablespoon. A tablespoon of poppy seeds. So that's our first step, guys. We're getting started. We're jumping right into this. Most of these spices I had to order because I don't own them, but hopefully they last a long time because I don't know how often I'll use them. Okay, anyways, first ingredient is 1 tablespoon of poppy seeds. You know, Poppy like the troll in the Trolls movie. There you go, 1 tablespoon of that. Drop the lid, sorry. Then a 1/2 tablespoon, is that what it says? 1/2 tablespoon, I've got that, of white sesame seeds. Again, this is another brand new one, so I'm gonna have to open this one too. It's already weird, right? Like normally when I make pigs in a blanket, it's a super fast process. We're having some sort of like get together with the family, and I just say, oh, what can we cook? And then me and Tina, that's my wife, will be like, oh, you know what, let's make those. Those are easy. But this seems to kind of take the easy part out of it and make it sort of complicated. So that was a 1/2 tablespoon of white sesame seeds. Now we're gonna do a 1/2 tablespoon of black sesame seeds. Easy peasy. I would say my go-to, okay wait, next thing is 2 teaspoons of dried minced garlic. My go-to for like, you know, Super Bowl type party snacks, you know, last minute gets-togethers would be these pigs in a blanket, not these, the easier ones, and also meatballs in a crock pot with like grape jelly and barbecue sauce. If you haven't tried that, that's really good too. What I did just now is I added 2 teaspoons of minced garlic, a teaspoon right there. And I'm gonna do the same with the minced onion, 2 teaspoons of each. Wow, this minced onion looks kind of wild. It's like flaky, 1, 2. I'm kind of excited about this. The way this smells would knock your socks off. And then it calls for a 1/2 teaspoon of the flaky sea salt. Again, I could not find that. So we're just gonna go with coarse and hopefully it works out. 1/2 teaspoon of that, add it in. So hopefully that's a good mix. Just gonna mix it all together, get it all nice and combined. And honestly, this just looks exactly like what I'd put on an everything bagel. Like if I was making my own bagels, I've never done that. I did have a recommendation to do that in the comments, but I'm kind of scared because that's like a complex bit of cooking right there, is making a bagel. Okay, so that's all combined. Our next step is to put that aside and preheat the oven. All right, so we preheated the oven to 350. It says line a large sheet with parchment paper or Silpat liner. I don't have either of those things, so we'll have to find another way to grease the pan. I feel like I normally don't grease the pan when I make this sort of thing. Do you think I could get away with just doing nothing and just put it on a non-stick pan? I might try that. It says use the crescent dough straight out of the fridge. I pulled it out just a second ago, so it's not been too long. I always liked opening these. It's really fun because you get to hit it against the counter. I mean, which kid doesn't want to do that? So we open the crescent roll like so, and then we give it a little spank, and boom, pops open. Love that, so satisfying. So we'll just pull that out of there, and it says to set it on our surface. I just wiped down and washed this counter, so it should be good. And we're just gonna open this up like so. Looks beautiful, right? Okay, so this is a part when I first made these. Now, I've never made this exact recipe, but I've made pigs in a blanket before. And this part could be confusing potentially. So basically at this point, you want to cut your see how you got these perforated triangles here that are already in place? They're too big. And so what you wanna do is you wanna take a knife and you wanna cut them down into thirds, like so. So it'll make even smaller triangles. So this is a common thing anytime I've ever made crescent roll, hot dogs, or pigs in a blanket, whatever you want to call it. That's always been one of the steps. You end up with these strips that you're going to use to wrap around the little hot dogs, basically. So pretty simple. I mean, I'm sure you've been to a party or something that had these. I just screwed one up because I said pretty simple, so it's just fate that I'd screw one up. You can kind of cobble that together, or you can just, if you don't need as many, you can just say, whatever, it's fine, and put it aside, like I did. So anyways, that's what we're doing, is we're getting these little crescent rolls. I have 5 because I messed one up, but you get the idea. And if you want, you can cut them apart like this first. Maybe that's a little easier. I think seems like it might be. 1, 2, 3. So now I've got all these little tiny things here. Actually, I'm gonna pre-cut because this one seems to be stuck together. All right, so you're following along with me, guys. If you're making these at home, just do what I'm doing. Or do it better, because I'm probably not doing it that well. I'm sure there's plenty of people saying, Dave, you're doing a terrible job. Or, hey, you're messing up your counter. I might be. It's very possible. Probably should have put this on like a cutting board since I'm using a knife. But I'm not really even pushing hard at all. It's barely even touching the surface of the counter. So we should be okay. All right, so now we've got all our little tiny pieces of crescent roll. All right, I'm gonna get a pan. All right, so I've got a pan here that I'm gonna set, I don't know, up front here. No, then you can't see it. I wanna make sure you can see what I'm doing here. All right, so the next thing it says to do is to brush. This I've never done before. This is unique. Don't get me wrong, it's not fully unique. Like, I have brushed stuff while cooking before, but at no point in my life have I ever brushed the crescent rolls when making pigs in a blanket. So I'm gonna take my mustard and I'm just gonna put it into the bowl here. This is Dijon mustard, or at least that's what it calls for. And I'm gonna drop it a little bit. It's all good. Should I grease the pan? Maybe I'll grease the pan with some spray. Okay, I give up. I can't find grease. I can't find any spray. I don't have any parchment paper, so I'm just gonna butter the dish. It's kind of a weird thing to do, but I don't feel like butter is gonna hurt anything. It's just gonna make it more delicious. Okay, so what it wants me to do is brush the dough strip with mustard. Yes, with mustard, no joke, mustard. It says to brush it very lightly with mustard. I'm assuming it just means on one side. I'll look again to double check, but that's literally what I'm doing now, is I'm brushing these with mustard. I mean, I like mustard in the right scenario. So on a hamburger, I don't really like it. Actually, it's gonna be easier if I do it like this while they're all together. There's a little hot tip for you. If you leave them all together like that, it's actually really easy to brush them with the mustard. Now, I've used mustard when doing barbecue, like on my smoker. If you do like a pulled pork or something like that, often it'll say to use mustard as a binder. And what it means by binder is you put it onto the pulled pork. Then after you do that, you add your spice, whatever barbecue spice you're putting on your pulled pork, and the mustard will force it to stick. The spice will see. See, this is way worse. I'm now like mopping my countertop with mustard because I separated these ones. Hey, the oven's preheated. So yeah, I would definitely recommend leaving them together. If it's too late, it's too late. And I'm just gonna demustard a little because it said lightly, and I'm not convinced that this is really qualified as lightly. It's kind of a lot of mustard on there. If you were to ask me what I think the most common mistake is when people make pigs in a blanket would be, I would tell you it's skipping a step like this one. So what I'm doing is I'm getting a bowl and I'm putting a paper towel on it. I'm opening up my little hot dogs here. Trying to. Okay, got them open. And then I'm putting them in this bowl with the paper towel. Now, the reason I'm doing this, some of you have already guessed, is that when you buy these little hot dogs, they actually come in a liquid. So there's a liquid that's like in with the hot dog. And that liquid, if you actually, and I've made this mistake, that's why I say it's gotta be fairly common, because I've made the mistake of not drying the hot dogs before making pigs in a blanket. And what I got as a result was a very soggy, unsatisfying pig in a blanket. So what I'm gonna do now is each one I pull out, I'm actually going to dry even more thoroughly, right? I'm drying it on a paper towel here. I'll show you on the close camera. And then once it's dry, take it and put it on the fat side of this pastry and you roll it up, just like that. Nice little roll. I'm gonna put the seam at the very bottom. And now I'm just gonna repeat that process however many times this is. What do you think? Do the counting. And of course, because I'm filming and stuff, I actually forgot to dry that hot dog off. Let me get the next one. Properly dry it off this time. That one might be a little soggy. That was a mistake, but that's okay. Roll it on up. So yeah, I mean, this isn't too complicated, guys. I think anyone, even people who don't cook often, there's not anything overly complicated about this. This is almost as easy as cooking pizza rolls in the oven. The only thing is, I feel like it would be a little cost prohibitive. I mean, it's kind of funny. This is the recipe you make if you want to like make all the other moms at the potluck feel bad. Or dads, I guess, in my case. Because it's just like way over the top unnecessary, but hey, you know what? It might be absolutely delicious, so we're gonna find out here in just a minute, guys. We're gonna find out if this is really the world's best pigs in a blanket recipe. All right, so I'm gonna stop blathering. Let me get all these done. We'll be back in just a second. Okay, so I've got them laid out. Not all of them came out perfect, but they look okay. This one's a real mess, but it happens. Next step is we gotta take our egg and we gotta beat it a little. We got a fairly tiny whisk. We'll take our egg, we'll crack it open into a bowl. Oh, I failed the first time. Throw out the shell, and then we're gonna just, like Michael Jackson always does, beat it. And it says lightly beat, so I think that's probably enough right there. Just a little beat, little whisking action, should be good. I feel like this is the recipe I'm always seeking out, right? A recipe like this that takes a normal thing I've cooked a million times and just adds something special to it. And that's kind of what this is doing, because I normally would not do an egg wash, that's what they call this, on my pigs in a blanket. I just wouldn't. I understand the reasoning. There's two things that this will accomplish. One, it's gonna make, anytime you put egg on top of a pastry, it's gonna make it more golden and delicious looking. It's definitely gonna add to the eye candy of it, but it's also gonna be the conduit for which my spice mix sticks onto these little hot dogs. So, totally understand why we're doing this. Not something I'd ever think to do myself, but you know, Googling world's best recipe, and we got this unique experience ahead of us. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm just brushing this on, guys. Same brush I used for the mustard. Not gonna use the whole egg, clearly, but I'll just drink the rest later. Just kidding, I'm not Gaston. And then the recipe says to sprinkle on this seasoning mix, which, you know, to taste, it says, you know, whatever looks good to you. I'm gonna go, maybe I shouldn't go too hard on it, but I don't know, what's too hard? They're looking delicious. I'm actually pretty genuinely excited to try this, and I just hope I'm not putting too much stuff on it. There we go. Now we're gonna toss this in the oven for 10 to 14 minutes. I'll go with 12. But yeah, the recipe says to cook for 10 to 14 minutes until light and golden brown. If desired, serve with the dipping sauce. Now this is the interesting part. There's a dipping sauce. And I'm gonna check and see if I have all the ingredients. If I do, we'll make the dipping sauce. All right, so for this dipping sauce, it calls for Dijon mustard and whole grain mustard. I don't think I have whole grain mustard. It calls for sour cream and mayo. I've got those. I think we can cobble something together. All right, so it says half a cup of sour cream. And I've got the squirty kind, because, you know, the squirty kind is cool. You know, this is a dipping sauce, so it doesn't need to be perfect. Then it calls for 3 tablespoons, so basically 4 tablespoons of Dijon. So that's what we're gonna do, is we're gonna take it, and it calls for, how am I supposed to do this? I always have to remind myself how many tablespoons are in a cup. So it's 16 tablespoons, so I need 4 tablespoons, which is a 1/4 cup. So I'm gonna use that same 1/4 cup. Actually, I didn't use a 1/4 cup. I used a half a cup of sour cream. We're gonna do a 1/4 cup of mustard, and I'll explain my reasoning. The recipe calls for 3 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, which is what I've got, and 1 tablespoon of whole grain mustard, which I think is that really like chunky stuff. Since I don't have the chunky stuff, I'm just combining 3 plus 1 tablespoons equals 4. And then since we know, I always end up doing stupid arithmetic talk during this. Since we know that there's 16 tablespoons in a cup, 1/4 of a cup would be the 4 tablespoons we need. And then we need a half cup of mayo. All right, half a cup of mayo. Now, what do you guys normally put on your pigs in a blanket? Have you even had pigs in a blanket? I feel like it's common, but maybe not. I normally will just put ketchup on them. I mean, that's pretty standard, I think, is just ketchup. So we'll definitely take out the ketchup when they're done. They're almost finished. So we take our half of a cup of mayo. I used to have a big aversion to mayo, but it's grown on me as I've aged. What really did it for me was going to Amsterdam. I would go to Amsterdam and they have all these fry carts, like where they sell fries, pretty good fries, on the side of the road. And they always include mayonnaise as your dipping sauce. You have to like ask if you want ketchup. And I remember the first time I went there, we're just gonna mix this together. First time I went there, I was still not eating mayo. And I go and I get fries and they call it fry sauce. And so I go and I get fries and fry sauce and they might put like a little bit of like seasoned salt or something in there. But in general, it's literally just mayonnaise. And so I say, yeah, can I get fries with fry sauce and some ketchup? And I'm sitting there and I'm dipping it in the mayo that I think is fry sauce. And my buddy's like, yo, I thought you hated mayo. I'm like, I do hate mayo. He's like, you're smothering your fries in mayonnaise and eating it. I'm like, no, it's fry sauce. He's like, that's mayonnaise, dude. I was like, oh, whoops. I guess I don't hate mayo anymore. So this is their dipping sauce. We'll try that. We'll try some ketchup. It's gonna be done in 4 minutes, so I'll be right back and we'll try them out. Okay, we're back. Hello, guys. That took a lot longer than 12 minutes. It took more like 20 minutes. For some reason, I just wasn't really getting the crispy brown at the top, and I think maybe I had too much egg wash on it. All in all, I'd say they look pretty good. Let's see, they're not sticking too bad either. So there's the bottom. Looks kind of good, and then there's the top. Definitely looks delicious. So let's try it straight up, and then we'll try it with their dipping sauce. Oh my gosh, that's so hot. Why do I always do this to myself? I just burnt my mouth. I think it's pretty good though. Let me try it with the dipping sauce. That'll cool it down. That's the dipping sauce there. Ugh. I don't like the dipping sauce at all. Absolutely hate it. Ugh. Ugh. That was really gross. Whew. That was really disgusting dipping sauce. Let's try nature's dipping sauce, also known as ketchup. This is what I normally dip it in. I mean, I don't know. I'm just not that into mustard, I don't think. And that was pretty mustard forward. So let's try another one, but we're gonna try it in the ketchup and dip it in there. And this is how I normally would eat a pig in a blanket. Wow. Hold on. That is spectacular. Okay, so in the world of pigs in a blanket, this is far and away the best one I've ever had. 10 out of 10. Just drastically better than any pig in a blanket I had, but that's kind of not surprising because they took a pig in a blanket recipe and they just kicked it up a couple notches, and it really shows. Guys, definitely try these for your next party. I mean, you probably even could buy the pre-done everything bagel seasoning if you want to cheat a little, but doing it this way was spectacular. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Try this at home and let me know what you think. Bye-bye.